Ave Maria Stella Dei Mater Alma.
Good evening, North Carolina. It's Steve Cunningham with the Sensus Fidelium Hour. Welcome back. Glad to have you with me. Glad to be here. Thank you for everybody that's supporting the program and supporting the radio channel in general. So a couple days from now, this is being recorded on the 10th of October, year 2022. This will air on the 11th of October. 2 days from then, obviously, is the Miracle of the Sun anniversary in 1917, Fatima. And the Dancing of the Sun, 70,000, 60,000, 70,000. Think of, as one priest said, think of a Bank of America stadium in downtown Charlotte. Everyone in there packed the house. Those people plus miles out was able to see the dancing sun, and they thought the world was over at the time. So I'm going to get into a little bit of things you probably haven't heard. If you want to hear more on that sermons, go to the website, go to the YouTube channel, check it out. But when I was coming back in to the faith, really, actually, I came through politics in a sense. That got my brother to do it. It was like, he saw Steve posting politics stuff on Facebook. That was the thing at the time. And he said, well, if he's going to do church, I'm going to do state-related stuff. So, or if he's going to do state, I'm going to do church-related stuff. And he started posting about the Saint of the Days for Lent. And then he started thinking he has a call to the priesthood. So my thing was at this time, this was back, was it 2010-ish, roughly, give or take a few months. I started asking friends, because I was, like I said, reading politics-wise. Then I got into the religion stance of it. Does things look like it's the French Revolution still going on? And I did a show on this. It's actually the Holy Face podcast I did long ago. And I'm trying to tie the first two together with this a little bit too. Is one French philosopher said the French Revolution never ended. So what was some aspects of the French Revolution? What were causes of it, really? Short term, the poor harvest, high bread prices. So cost of food was going up. Getting food was scarce in a sense. There was a kind of a famine happening. There was a financial crisis of the 1780s. You think of debt, massive debt that the state was taking on. One, because of wars. They were in the Spanish Civil Wars. They were influential on that. They were in the U.S. War of Independence. They put a lot of money into that. That's why they got beat down the road when in other wars badly because of we're out of money. And let's see, the expenses of the king and queen. Taxation was unfair. You throw in the Enlightenment or Delightment at the time. Growing contempt of the second and third estates. Do any of that sound familiar today? And I want to, like I said, bring some of the things in what you're seeing then as a microcosm to a macrocosm of a whole world. Because my thing is my personal opinion, you're seeing the French Revolution on a global scale now. Remember, they had rampant pornography. Immodesty was at a peak. The Marquis de Sade, the sadist, that's where you get the name sadist from. He was very influential then. If you get the book by E. Michael Jones called I just went stupid on it. I can't remember the name of the book. Libido Dominanti. What it basically comes from St. Augustine's line of unbridled passions. His theory on this is if you have unbridled passions, you can have unbridled violence. He ties in horror movies and things like this. And so the Marquis de Sade and these guys were trying to make this almost like normal, this horrible, immoral activity. You're listening to this probably in the North Carolina area. How's the Carolina Panthers cheerleading squad? There's a tranny dressed like that for family-oriented games, which aren't family-oriented anymore by no stretch of the imagination. TV shows, how's that? Computers, you might be watching this on YouTube, Miles, you have to have protection on your computer just in case something goes wrong. I mean, you can't click. You have to be very careful on there not to click on links that are broken and go to a wrong site. Maybe a lie, maybe scandalous or something. You can't read news stories without it. You can't watch Fox News. They're very scantily clad. And then think of what's going on regular TV. In some cases, softcore porn on some channel, and that's ABC, NBC, CBS. And then not including what they're trying to shove down your throats with the homosexual revolution, the homo-fascist mafia, in a sense. But what else is going on? This is back in 2003, Operation Shock and Awe over Iraq's capital, sending 31 countries from the free world to part. On YouTube, there's a video of this happening. One of the people I follow is Syrian girl. Here's this isn't war related, but this is 10,000 Germans protest the energy crisis, NATO policy and sanctions of Russia outside of Buchstadt. Winter hasn't even begun. And why is that important? Because their government has told the people there that to stay warm in the winter, to take up more blankets, to create these little warm cells in the city, because they're going to cut off their energy. Again, they kind of want, as Matthias Desmet talks about in his book on totalitarianism, is that they actually want people to revolt, and that's the worst thing that could happen, is for people to revolt. But in the back of your mind, like, what else can people do? Because they're getting pushed to starvation, freezing temperatures, unruly conditions. What do you want them to do? But they want this reaction. Here's today. Here's a map of strikes carried out by Russia on Ukraine today. You see, this is Patrick Lancaster. If you don't know who Patrick Lancaster is, check out his YouTube channel. He's on the ground filming as things happen. For the last 7 months, I've kept up with his channel quite often. He's very consistent, very honest, and he's got skin in the game down there.
I mean, look, people are dying out there for starvation and war and conflict and climate. We need that coverage, and this is why it's so powerful to talk to people like we're doing right now, because when people hear that other people are struggling, their heart is moved, and they're like, how can we help? Mm-hmm. And as I say, look, if you're not going to do it out of the goodness of your heart, then you better do it out of your national security interest or your financial interest, because it's going to cost you 1,000 times more. And so what we're facing right now is unprecedented perfect storm within a perfect storm. Mm. The economic factors now, right on the back of COVID, where people have lost their coping capacity in these poor countries, is much worse. And if we have a food availability problem, it's going to be hell on earth in 2023. It's avoidable. Food is a solution. And we got to act. And we got to act now.
So this is David Beasley talking about this. 345 million people are marching towards starvation. 50 million people knocking on famine's door. Now we could have a food availability problem in 2023. Again, what to say about the French Revolution? They were having famine problems. Bread was getting up a little bit higher. There's the Tigray genocide, a war that caused unimaginable suffering to the Tigray people. 500,000 civilians killed, 2 million are forced displaced, 5 million urgent humanitarian aid, 70,000 fled to Sudan, and 500,000 famine-like condition. This is from, now, if you're not aware of this, back earlier this year and last year, there was a bunch of food production plants that were just simultaneously just blowing up or catching on fire. Here's one in France, one of the largest food production plants on fire in France. So all these food processing plants are being destroyed at the same time as everything else is absolutely normal. And here's a list. This, as the lady goes, hey, these things spontaneously happen like all the other coincidences. In fact, it's the same as these food production plants and animals being destroyed in the United States 2020 2022 the year of coincidences. And as I've mentioned before, there are no coincidences. This is just from 2021 on. Monmouth Smithfield Foods, Memphis Kellogg Plant, JBS Beef Plant, Tyson River Valley, Darren Gold Plant, Winston-Salem Fertilizer Plant, Bonanza Meat Company, El Paso, Texas. Again, just look at it. Nestle Food, 663,000 chickens destroyed at an egg farm in Maryland. Another 900,000 destroyed in egg farm in Taylor, Iowa. 240,000 chickens destroyed in egg farm in Newcastle, Delaware. Another 650,000 chickens destroyed in an egg farm in Cecil, Maryland. Another 300,000 chickens destroyed in a farm in Missouri. And this is literally, almost all those were in a week and a half of each other. 5.3 million chickens destroyed in an egg farm in Buena Vista, Iowa. This is March 17th. Let's see, 2.7 million chickens destroyed in an egg farm in Jefferson, Wisconsin. 140,000 chickens destroyed in Kent, Delaware. Here's another list of them. More chickens, more of this destroyed. You can look it up yourself. I'll get, there's 58,000 chickens in Colorado. 77,000 turkeys destroyed in Minnesota. See, you're getting where I'm going. 1.7 million chickens destroyed in Nebraska. North Carolina and Wayne, 89,700 chickens destroyed in a farm in Wayne, North Carolina. Here's a photo of the farmland that Bill Gates owns, the one on top, and here's the photo of all the plants in the United States, that food production plants that got destroyed in the last year. We'll continue more on the other side.
Are you a man searching for the truth? Find answers and fellowship in the Carolina Catholic Man Cave every Saturday from noon until 7 p.m. only on the Carolina Catholic Media Network.
Hello, Carolina Catholic Media family. This fall brings more new programs and ideas to grow your Carolina Catholic Media apostolate. You'll find all access to our local programs on air, online, and on demand, with nearly 1,000 audio podcasts and YouTube videos available in our vast library. You'll hear more local parish, school, and ministry news, plus big events being held throughout the fall. Be sure to ask about reserving a Carolina Catholic live broadcast for your event. We encourage you to get involved, come join us, and catch the spirit. The Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are 100% funded by you. Please consider a one-time donation, a monthly pledge, a business sponsorship, or perhaps becoming a program underwriter. Every dollar supports our evangelization mission to spread the truth of Jesus Christ and our Catholic faith across the Carolinas. Thank you for discerning a role in the Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate. May God bless you abundantly.
Hey, welcome back, Steve with Sensus Fidelium Hour, coming at you with the idea of Fatima and why you really need to take hold of this mess. Not just the devotion, just like the last episode last week, the Holy Face devotion. Yes, it's a good devotion. Without knowing the background of it, it's good, it's edifying, it's beautiful, but there's a why to it. Now, if you don't understand the communistic aspect of why that was even introduced, as one priest said about Fatima, Our Lady wasn't bored in heaven wondering what in the world these three kids in Portugal are doing this day for her just to come down and say hi. There was a reason for it. He says it in all the times he talks about Fatima. Our Lady wasn't bored in heaven wondering what's going on now. Let me go down and say hi. No, there was a reason for it. And this goes back in the first Saturday's devotion. If you're not doing your first Saturdays, get to it. There's St. Michael's. I couldn't believe it. We went to St. Michael's this 2 first Saturdays ago, and Father leads them after Mass in the 15-minute meditation on a decade of the Rosary. That's one of those things that people forget to do. And I know of one other parish. It's a traditional parish in Kentucky. We have the sermons on here. Father Sean, Father Collins do it, and they lead it. They do the same thing afterwards. Keep everybody there, and there's a good crowd afterwards. So you get everything done, and then you can do obviously his father said, the confession part, you're supposed to, have communion before getting cleaned up, not after. I mean, you're supposed to have it after you get cleaned up, not before you get cleaned up. So most people will just come in and get receive communion, which is a requisite for it, but then go wait after to go to confession afterwards. If you're in a state of mortal grace, a mortal sin, obviously don't do that. So try to go before to go to receive communion in a good state of grace. Anyways, so there's a reason for, if you don't know the reasons behind the first Saturday devotion, that's why I'm kind of building up on this a little bit, and the Fatima devotion. And anyways, it's not going to be a big deal. It's just going to be like, oh, that's cute. There's a miracle of the sun in 1917, and it's already, the 100 years of that has passed. But the 100 years of the consecration is actually 2029. And I'm going to make the connection with the Sacred Heart and that, and the World Economic Forum, 2030, you owe nothing and be happy. 2030, 2029. Those days are right there next to each other, aren't they? All right, let's get back to the doom and glimmers. Just kidding. You got to look at reality. It's just like if someone goes, oh, you're a doom and gloomer if you say it's going to rain. Well, there's a black cloud coming. It looked like going to rain. So it's truth is conforming your mind to reality. This is Blaze Media. 200,000 chickens burned to death in a vast Minnesota farm fire. I remember when this happened. It was big news on TV. I don't know if you remember a couple of months ago, about half a year ago now, they were talking about the avian flu being a big thing. The return of the avian flu. What did you have to do? Well, you had to kill all your chickens. One chicken tested positive for this. And they were out there telling people to kill all your chickens. So kill off your food supply voluntarily. They're doing that with cows in a lot of places. Calling your cow. Ireland, they're forcing people to kill their cows. Kill their livestock. Why? Because of climate change. It's because they think that, cow farts or whatever, or belches are destroying the planet. So for, how many, 6,000, 7,000 years of human existence, the world's been around. And yes, I'm a young earther. So we're the church fathers. So forgive me on that. All of a sudden, now cows are a problem on this world. There's something else going behind it. Here's another one, BBC News, this is a week ago. Record avian flu outbreak sees 48 million birds culled in United Kingdom and the EU. 48 million chickens. That's a lot from your food supply gone. In the UK, 161 cases were detected. 161 cases led to the culling of 3.2 million birds. That compared to a previous record of 26 cases in 2020-2021. UK government said the culled birds were a small proportion of total production, about 20 million birds a week. I don't know if you know this. I've been called a nutter for this. They're trying to force eating bugs, because they get rid of the protein in the cows and meat, because you bad meat eater. And unfortunately, it's coming from Rome as well. And look it up. It's in. Let's have a dream. Let us dream. It's in the thing we talked about 2 weeks ago, when the Vatican had this thing on the climate change fiasco and trying to get people to get rid of fossil fuels and things like this. The local Jesuit, St. Peter's, they have it on their Twitter page. Stop eating meat, because that's leading to all these problems, cancer, things like that. Actually, it's all the poisonous food that you get around that's doing that, and we're ingesting all that. If you eat stuff that grows in your backyard and it's not injected with all this other chemicals, you're not going to get all that.
Should you eat?
So this is Dr. Sam Bailey. She's in New Zealand. I love her stuff, by the way.
Bugs. There have been some interesting things going on in the last few years. There are claims that current farming practices are unsustainable, and the consumption of most traditional animal products must stop. And apparently, having us eat insects could be the answer to this, quote, problem. Many globalist organisations are at the forefront of driving this narrative, and some of the Hollywood A-listers are also getting in on the action.
I am here to reveal my hidden talent, eating micro livestock, cornworms, They're still alive. Extraordinary. Very moist, chewy. Can't quite describe the flavor.
Interesting texture. It's chewy.
Yeah. Need a little water.
Let's have a look at the alleged science behind this insect-eating idea. I think they've worked out that most of you are not going to buy into their BS, so as we'll see, now they are targeting children.
Food and Agriculture Organization certainly thinks so. It says a third of the world's population already consumes edible insects, like beetles and ants, and it also says the rest of us need to get into that stuff too.
A few weeks ago, photos surfaced of an assignment that had been given to 5th grade students in a Florida elementary school. It was titled Bugs, Food of the Future. The assignment started by stating, throughout history, people around the world have suffered from a lack of food. Modern farming methods help prevent food shortages, but the world's population is growing as well. Many people all over the world still go hungry. The next section says, some scientists have a surprising idea for a source of food. Their answer to the problem? Bugs. Few people in the United States eat insects in any form. Hold up. That is a complete non sequitur. What problem? The United States doesn't have an issue with food production. Like New Zealand and many first world countries, the US can easily produce more than enough food to supply its own population and have plenty left over to export elsewhere. The assignment went on to state that the United Nations reports that nearly 2 billion people in the world eat insects. Okay, presumably they're implying that this is a good thing, but you'd really need to survey those people to find out whether they are eating insects by choice or necessity. In most first world countries, we have plenty of access to insects, but most people choose not to eat them as they don't need to and don't want to. Then the school assignment produces a chart purportedly showing the efficiency of turning feed into edible food. And look at this, crickets come out on top. It is claimed that by weight, they have twice the efficiency of chicken and pork and are way ahead of beef, which, as you'll see, they really don't want you to eat.
They don't want you to eat that beef. They want you to eat the fake stuff, like the Gates Impossible Burger, the fake foods, the ones that you can print out in a petri dish. I played that on Clown Planet, I think, last week. They're growing milk and meats in petri dishes so that you can get rid of all the cows, you can get rid of livestock, you can get rid of chickens. They're making, and they actually did this a couple months ago, making farming in your backyard illegal. They're trying to push that and to kill off your birds. Anyway, so okay, food supply.
Dollar's been surging against the yuan this year, up about 12% since January 1st. That's helped our next guest, who has a big bet on a weaker yuan. Joining us right now is Crescent Capital founder, CIO, and CEO Kevin Smith. Crescent Capital has $300 million in assets under management. His global macro hedge fund up, we should say, 34% year to date in what has been a tough one.
Just because the segment's ending on the clock, he goes, we think the real big devaluation, the more serious crisis is still coming. And you look up, I did a search on here for currency crisis. They're all getting hit. All of them getting hit hard. It's going into digital currency, as mentioned about the social credit score that the system that the feds are pushing through the banks right now. 6 banks are okay with the trial run. That will end up as you saw PayPal. I don't know if you saw this. Came out saying they were going to fine people $2,500 every time they did misinformation, according to their problem. So many people got upset at them that they reversed their things. Oh, no, we're sorry. That was just a boo-boo on our part. Yeah, that was a trial balloon is what happened. So when social credit score and all that comes out, you're going to see that's going to be nothing what PayPal did. Again, goes in now to a currency. Now you can't buy anything, you can't feed your family, and there's a food crisis. One, because they're getting rid of the food that we eat, and now you can't even buy what there is. So why don't you eat the bugs? Even there's one doctor or professor, whatever, is in Sweden saying that maybe we should start considering eating humans. That's not a joke. I heard about that 3 years ago, before all the nonsense started, and it's still they haven't reneged on that idea. More after the break.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. John Aquaviva, host of Faith in Sport here on Carolina Catholic Radio. We were recently blessed to have on the show PGA great and Charlottean Webb Simpson. Here's his response on staying faithful while on the tour.
It's a great lifestyle. I'm so thankful for it. There's amazing perks about it, but it's also a hard lifestyle. I mean, I think most people look at it and they see, oh, he's traveling to the great cities of the United States and playing the best golf courses against the best players, and that's great and that's true. But saying bye to 5 kids and a wife you love every other Tuesday is really hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's some great things about it, right? Where my wife and I talk all the time. When I'm away from them and I am sad and I miss them, all that does is push me closer to Christ. I move closer to him. I'm more dependent on him.
Yep.
I need him. And my wife says the same at home. It's a lot harder for her, but she knows I'm doing what the Lord has, given me the opportunity to do at least 1 year at a time. It's been tough, but it's fun.
So please join us for great guests like pro golfer Webb Simpson on Faith in Sport, heard daily here on Carolina Catholic Radio.
Hi everyone, it's Jason Murphy for the Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas and the Obligation Radio Show here on the Carolina Catholic Media Network. Registration is now open for the 13th Annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas to be held on March 18th, 2023 at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church. It's going to be an amazing day of faith, fellowship, and prayer. Of course, we'll be joined, as always, by our own Bishop Peter Jugas of the Diocese of Charlotte. We also have a great lineup of speakers, including Charles Frawny. Charles is the author of Slaying Dragons, What Exorcists See and What We Should Know. He's going to be there to discuss spiritual warfare. Also joining us, Jonathan Fanning. He is an author, speaker, an entrepreneur, and a father. Coming to us from High Point, North Carolina, the Diocese of Charlotte, is Deacon John Clark. Deacon is a former NYPD SWAT officer and former MMA fighter. You won't want to miss this one. Scott Weeman is going to be another one of our speakers. He's with Catholic in Recovery. He's going to talk to us about addiction and recovery for Catholics. And our MC this year will be Kevin Spalding. Kevin is a speaker and author and business life coach. You can go online now to www.catholicmenofthecarolinas.org. Make sure to use the promo code RADIO and save $5. We look forward to seeing you there on this awesome day full of faith, fellowship, and prayer. For the Catholic Men's Conference Carolinas, the Obligation Radio Show, my name is Jason Murphy. God bless and Esto Vir.
Okay, so the Sacred Heart part. Now remember that little photo right here. I'm pointing. If you're looking at the YouTube channel, looking at the YouTube page. Well, it's not going to work on that screen. But you talked about the Garcia Moreno image of the Sacred Heart. Garcia got that drawn when he was in France, and he heard about the Sacred Heart, the revelations. He heard about what happened in France, the promise, and the king not doing his duty. And he was terrified beyond belief, and he did not want that to happen in Ecuador. So he had that drawn with the rays going on Ecuador, and he got back to Ecuador and Quito and consecrated the country to the Sacred Heart and led processions, First Friday, all the whole 9 yards. Let me read you a little bit about this. Is from the Atrionin blogspot. This is many. You could look this up, type a Google search, and find this out. On June 17, 1689, the Sacred Heart of Jesus manifested to St. Mary Margaret Alacoque his command to the King of France that the king was to consecrate France to the Sacred Heart. For 100 years to the day, the kings of France delayed and did not obey. So on June 17, 1789, the King of France was stripped of his legislative authority by the upstart Third Estate, and 4 years later, the soldiers of the French Revolution executed the King of France as if he were a criminal. In 1793, France sent its king Louis XVI to the guillotine. He and his predecessors had failed to obey our Lord's request that France be consecrated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and thus misfortune had befallen both the king and his country. Let's see. Now, when he was in prison, he made a vow to the Sacred Heart in the spring of 1791 when he and his family were under house arrest in the palace in Paris. Here's the quote from the vow. O Jesus Christ, divine Redeemer of all our iniquities, it is in your adorable heart that I want to deposit the overflowing of my afflicted heart. I call upon the help of the tender heart of Mary, my majestic protector, and my mother, and the assistance of St. Louis, my most famous patron and of my ancestor. O adorable heart, by the so pure hands of my powerful intercessors, receive with kindness the wishes that confidence inspires in me, and that I offer to you like a humble expression of my feelings. If, by an effect of the infinite kindness of God, I recover my freedom, my crown, and my royal power, I promise solemnly to revoke as soon as possible all the laws which will be indicted to me, either by the Pope or by a council, or by the 4 bishops chosen among most enlightened and most virtuous of my kingdom, with the purity of the integrity of the faith, the discipline, and the spiritual jurisdiction of Holy Catholic Apostolic Church Roman, and in particular to revoke the civil constitution of the clergy. In 1931, our Lord communicated to Sister Lucia, Sister Lucy, his dissatisfaction with the popes and the Catholic bishops' failure to obey his command to consecrate Russia. He said, again, this is in Spain, August 1931. Make it known to my ministers, given that they followed the example of the King of France in delaying the execution of my request, they will follow him into misfortune. It is never too late to have recourse to Jesus and Mary. In another text, Lucy wrote that our Lord complained to her, they did not wish to heed my request. Like the King of France, they will repent of it, and they will do it, but it will be late. Russia will have already spread its errors in the world, provoking wars and persecutions against the church. The Holy Father will have much to suffer. Remember at the beginning of this, I was showing what? How many of this happening literally today? The bombings and going on in Ukraine. There's many more wars going on. I mentioned the genocide in Tigray. If I had time, I'd go through all the wars that are going on right now. So there's no peace going on right now. I know there was a consecration that occurred a couple months ago. It was in the spring, and a lot of people got jazzed about it. Okay, either Our Lady lied, or we're on a delay, and I don't know what the delay is, or it wasn't accepted in a sense, I guess. Now, there is a thing about the 5 First Saturdays saying that we have to earn this. It's not just the Pope to do this, with the bishops all united in union saying, calling out Russia. We, the laity, have to do things too, and that's the 5 First Saturdays. We have to make that devotion to give grace for that to actually happen. This is a team effort. This isn't just sitting back, and a lot of people like doing it, saying, "Oh, the Pope done this. The Pope didn't do this right. The Pope didn't." Again, you look in the mirror. Where's the ownership? Have we made our 5 First Saturdays? And if we have we done it? Have we done it with piety? Have we done it right? Have we done it great? Have we done it more? Even with the first 9 Fridays of the Sacred Heart, do you just do the 9 and call it a quits, or is it a devotion to you? I'm just going for reparation. Goes back to reparation. Both of these are for it. You for the crimes against Our Lady and the crimes against the Sacred Heart. So this is all about getting on your knees, getting calluses on your knees, doing it right, doing what Our Lady, doing what heaven requests. We don't have a better idea than what they say, and it's just one of those things. Now, we can't make the Holy Father and the bishops do anything like that. Now, there are bishops like Bishop Jugas did it. He consecrated the diocese to the Immaculate Heart. Poland, I think it was Poland. Wasn't it Poland? Portugal. They consecrated the country to the Immaculate Heart, and there was peace. The war, WW2 did not get involved, did not get to Portugal. The consecration is up online if you want to read it. So there are countries that had that. Dioceses that are doing it, that look by their fruits. You see that the dioceses like this, the one that did it, they're actually there's good fruits coming out of it. There are other dioceses and places that don't poo-poo on it, and nothing good's coming out of there. Plenty of dioceses that I know of, like I mentioned at the first one. Chicago, they're losing a ton of parishes. Cincinnati, losing 70% of their parishes. I just saw Steubenville Diocese might get brought into another diocese because it's contracting. There's contraction everywhere. Again, the French Revolution on a global level. Wars, immodesty, immorality. Mainly the immorality is incredibly bad. The blasphemy. Remember the whole thing about Leon de Pont? That whole thing started with the reparation, the Archconfraternity for the Holy Name. It was reparations for crimes against the Holy Name. Why? Because the blasphemy that was going on. Because of the revolutionaries. He was in it afterwards. Dom Garanger, he lived during it afterward. He was afterwards, but he lived during it. These guys saw what was going on. They put the idol of Our Lady Liberty on the altar at Notre Dame. Talk about blasphemy, right? They knew there's reparation that needed to be made. So they're doing everything they can to do it. They already had the mindset to fight this in any way they could. And then the Holy Face image comes in, and they were able to incorporate that right into it without a hiccup, really. So same thing for us. All right, we have the tool. We had the weapons handed down to us by our ancestors from before. The Holy Face image, the first Saturdays, the first Fridays. We have the rosary. We have the chaplets. We have the prayers. We have the psalms. We have everything, the Mass. Are we using it? Or are we just tweeting? Are we just tweeting about it, getting mad and complaining about it and yelling at other people? Why don't you do this? Why don't I get what I want? As Megan Rapinoe says, the lesbian soccer player, I deserve this. No, we have weapons that hell can never break. They can't defend it. We have everything. We just have to have confidence in God. That's the whole thing about sacramentals too. You have to have confidence in the faith of the sacramental. It's not a superstition, but we don't even act. Holy water. How many people have holy water in their homes? I used to work for the KFC, Knights of Columbus, and I would go into homes. I wouldn't know if they were Catholic or not. It was a hard find to fight. Now, if someone walks into my house, this is a rental, they know. They're going, where'd you get that? Yeah, I tell them where I get it, how to get it, why I even have it. But when I was doing that, and I was an insurance agent, we did it for about 5 months. It wasn't a big whoop. But long story there. It was homes. You couldn't tell. And I remember one guy, this was at the agency, he said a dirty word, Fatima. Blank Fatima. And I sat there and going, I could not believe that. I was flabbergasted that actually happened. They cared more about money than they did about learning about the devotion and caring about what Our Lady said in that. Yes, there's many people that treat it as the fifth gospel. That's not how I'm saying that. Our Lady did not have she wasn't wasting time to come down to Portugal and say, hey, just to talk to 3 little shepherd children about how's the days going by, and hey, I'm going to make the sun dance in a couple months. No, there's a lot more to it. Penance, reparation, praying for souls that will go to hell because nobody's praying for them. Goes back into the Father Mateo reparation for October that I've been pushing a lot. Even he talks about it. You're doing this for conversions. You're doing this for helping somebody else. That story about the daughter that saw her, that her father saw her praying in the window and knocked on her door and talked about, hey, what are you doing? She says, I've been praying for months to win you back to the church. And it softened his heart to the point that he and his wife returned to the church. Again, we go back to how many people since the closures of 2020, how many people fell away, killed even if it was out of habit, killed their habit of going to Mass, and they're trying to fight to get it back. And you don't see that many, you don't see the return coming back as fast as we want, or a lot of people want. There's a, let me play, I'll play this. I'll play on the start of the last episode, or the last segment. I'll play a EWTN clip from a bishop, well, not the bishop, from the Diocese of Boston, talking about their lamenting that the numbers aren't coming back. Again, how do we win them back? We have to pay the price. That's what Father does. Not the Smith. I was thinking Father Smith. Father Mateo. There's a price you have to pay. There's always a price. If you're praying for somebody, it took Monica 30 years to get Augustine converted. A price she had to pay. Everyone's got a price.
Hello, my name is Ray Haywood, and I'm coming to you today to speak to you about the Fraternity of St. Joseph Men's Group. a men's group that was started under the leadership of Father Matthew Card by the intentional men of the parish of St. Thomas Aquinas here in our Diocese of Charlotte, North Carolina. In our first efforts, we were asked if we would model our men's group in a way that other parishes could simply follow. With that intent in mind, we created the FSJJourneyman.com website. On that website, you can find all that is needed to create your own chapter of the Fraternity of St. Joseph Men's Group in your parish, as well as resource documents that we are intentionally placing into our faith community. We hope that you will step closer to the path and to each other in the just model of St. Joseph as you consider creating your own chapter of the Fraternity of St. Joseph Men's Group.
Hello, my name is Father Mark Lawler. I'm the pastor of the parish of St. Therese in Mooresville, North Carolina. I've been a priest of the Diocese of Charlotte for the last 27 years. When I was a seminarian almost 30 years ago, I began to write some of the stories of some of the experiences that I had as a seminarian and continued that as a priest. And in April of this year, I published a little book, a collection of these memoirs, basically my vocation story, some ministry stories, and a little family history or family experiences in there as well. So far, the response has been very positive, very humbling for me. The title of my book is Lessons and Stories from the Journey, Reflections from the Life of a Joyful Priest. If you're interested in obtaining a copy of this book, we have some copies here at St. Therese in Mooresville, but you can order it online as a paperback or as an ebook at Amazon.com. You can look under search Father Mark Lawler, Lawlor, or the title Lessons and Stories from the Journey, Reflections from the Life of a Joyful Priest. Thank you very much.
Experience the incredible story of the woman who Time magazine named the most influential Catholic woman in the United States. Born Rita Rizzo, the future Mother Angelica grew up in a rough neighborhood in Canton, Ohio. Young Rita experienced abandonment, rejection, and heartache, but God touched her through a woman named Rhoda Wise. Encounter this amazing woman at the Mother Angelica Museum. Plan your visit today at MotherAngelicaMuseum.com.
Hey everybody, Bill Snyder here. I'm one of the co-hosts of The Remnant. It's a men's show on the Carolina Catholic Radio Network with my two friends, Ray Haywood and Stephen Thomas. We talk about some of the issues facing men today and how to fight back against a culture that hates authentic masculinity. You can listen to it on the Carolina Catholic Radio Network every single Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check it out.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Sensus Fidelium Hour. I'm Steve Cunningham with sensusfidelium.com, the YouTube channel, the .tv, the whole 9 yards. And as one priest, that actually is entitled the sermon, The Rosary is Not an Option. It's the battering ram for heresy. It is the one that brings the dew down from heaven, sweet kisses of us to our Lord and Our Lady, the looking at Jesus through the eyes of Our Lady. How many things you can say about the beautiful stories if you get the book, obviously Secret of the Rosary, which is pretty much the best book ever written on the Rosary. There's guys that talk about not dying in wars, and I won't get into that. I'll do that for another show. There was an army that he put the rosary around his neck, and everyone else put it in their backpacks, and he was the only one not to die because he was trying to hide, and he was hiding in the face down in the mud, and guys were going around just popping people in the back of the head, making sure they were dead, and they did it to him, and it hit his rosary, saved his life. Anyway, so let's get back to this. Here's Father Eric Cadden from the Archdiocese of Boston on declining church
Now by
attendance.
Father Eric Cadden, Director of University Ministry and Vocations for the Archdiocese of Boston. Father Cadden, it's so great to have you with us. Why do you think the number of Catholics returning to Mass are so dismal?
I think it's a challenge we have always in every generation to continually return to the understanding that our faith ultimately is this extraordinary and awesome relationship, individually and collectively, with our God, who desires and loves you and me. And, in that challenge is in the midst of a culture and a time with all sorts of distractions and occupations throughout our day, to remember that we are created in love to be lovers of God and of each other. And that our faith and the Mass is that perfect place and time of encounter and entering into that great mystery of God's love and salvation and redemption of me and of you, so that we can continually be restored and transformed. And, it's something that, again, amid the distractions of our lives, we have to be continually reminded of and returning to. And so it's always a challenge.
Are you seeing a difference in the response to that call and that proposal on college campuses post-COVID?
I think so. I think all young people, all people in general, we're made for relationship and for community.
So as you see, I just played the first 2 minutes of it. He never answers any of these questions. It's kind of dancing around it because, again, you kick people out of the church and say it's non-essential for a whole year. How do you get people, how do you sell that back? Oh, actually, it was essential. We just said it was not essential at that time, and we just, don't listen to all the facts that was brought up. We gaslit you for a whole year, but, we want you back. Sometimes it's usually because the money's not there. It's a sad situation. Reparation is needed. I'm not getting liturgical wars. Everyone knows the arguments. Everybody knows what's going on. Everyone knows that if you start having these weird masses and things like that, especially in that area of Boston, where there was a huge scandal back, was it 10 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that, a lot of people are going to lose the faith. I know personally at least one that was from that area, and he told me about it. And I told him I get it. There's no reason. It's not an excuse. As Jocko says, excuses are lies. You got to keep pounding away. What's that line? Keep pounding. It's Steve Smith said at the end of the thing, it's not just a mantra. It's a way of life. Keep pounding. Are you one to see the problems and cower back, or get corrected in fraternal correction and basically, we're done with that person. I'm never talking that because my ego, as Fulton Sheen talked about, my ego's hurt. We lost the argument. We lost the ability to argue with each other. We have to walk on ice cubes, around each other because we're afraid to say anything that might make somebody upset or offend somebody. Even if you call them the other person a brother and say, "Oh, we're church militant." Oh, wait. We will resist you to your face until you resist me to my face, and then we have problems. There's a hypocrisy all over, and we just need to toughen our skin a little bit. Well, not a little bit, a lot, and be able to do this. So again, Fatima coming up. There's processions. I know St. Thomas is doing a procession after the 7 p.m. low mass. We're obviously at St. Thomas. I don't know where anybody else is doing anything. If they're doing a procession, I know that will be late, but go to it. Catholics are supposed to be in processions. That's our thing. We love people doing that for thousands of years, over thousands of years. Processions are cool. It's getting the faith into the streets. I know people that have done processions. You see homeless guys on the side, they're bowing to the Eucharist and things like that. It's a beautiful thing. I know Tryon back in the day, they did a procession for St. John the Baptist, and the whole town came out. And they had lounge chairs, and the cops closed the streets on Main Street, and they were wrapping around. I drove the first class relic of St. John. I was like, you want to put Father, can you buckle St. John up over there? It was cool to see. There was hundreds of people that time at Tryon. There was the opening of when they got done with the new restoration. It was a cool sign. Again, this is the Bible Belt. There's people all over the street tailgating, having the tailgate chairs out, watching the processions. They dragged St. John the Baptist statue down and sung hymns in the street of Tryon. It was fantastic. But yeah, go to it. If there's a Fatima procession, go to it. If you can, obviously if you can. If you can't, obviously you can't do it. It's one of those things. Maybe your time doesn't have work, etc. Make Fatima, make the feast, make all feasts of Catholic feast days better than the secular ones. I usually don't celebrate secular feast days at all. It's Columbus Day, so yeah, I'm happy for Columbus. I didn't get out much, but if I did, I would have been obnoxious about saying, "Hey, happy Columbus Day," things like that. we went out for the Feast of the Holy Rosaries. Yeah, we went out for ice cream, and I was like, hey, we're going out for the Feast of the Rosary and the Victory of Lepanto. You're not Turk. Go to people, you're not a Turk today because of today. Why? Well, you get in a conversation. You get things like that. Be joyful about the faith. Be joyful, Fatima. We're the only religion that has things like this. No other religion has something like. And by the way, Fatima, a lot of Muslims, you read the book World's First Love by Fulton Sheen, talks about how Muhammad's daughter was named Fatima. And there was a guy, a crusader, ended up falling in love with this girl and ended up changing the name of the city to Fatima, named it after her. And a lot of Muslims have a devotion, ended up having this devotion and convert because of this. I remember hearing, I was doing Uber in Denver, Colorado, and a girl got in the car. Her name was Fatima. So we talked about Fatima for about 15 minutes of the drive. She was a young Muslim lady. Gave her a miraculous medal. So Fatima, it's still changing hearts to this day, still producing miracles to this day. One thing I know, and it's not doctrinal, is if you look at the Virgin Revelation series that we have, that Father did, he did a long series on Fatima, and he did an even longer one on the Virgin Revelation. And he brings up Bruno. You don't know who this Bruno guy was. He was a communist, hint, that was trying to kill the Pope at this time, Pius XII. And he was born Catholic. He fell away, got into the Freemason ideas, got into the communists, became an atheist. And he was writing a thesis, I guess, would you call it, against the Immaculate Conception. And he was going to present this down. He was going to be like, this is going to be the death blow of it. Kind of like if you ever heard the story of Felix Lesueur, in the same principle, same ideas almost. Anyway, so his kids are playing in Trefontaine, kicking a soccer ball around. They kick it in the grotto, which was used as like a dump, really. People would be able to pew would go there, things like this. So the kids, the ball's in there, and the kids ended up, he looks over and the kids are kneeling down. And he's trying to get over there and move them. And he couldn't move them. They were like stones, structures that were built in the ground. He couldn't move his own kids. He goes in there, grabs a ball, and he's yelling at them. Stop this, stop, whatever you're doing, stop. What is going on? Some demon in here, what is going on here? Comes to find out, he turns around, he sees Our Lady, the Virgin Revelation, it's all in the book of Revelation. He goes, Bruno, you've been attacking my church, you've been attacking the church too long. Stop it. Convert, stop it. And it basically gets infused with the graces of conversion. Goes to the Pope. This is instant conversion. Goes to the Pope with the dagger. The dagger that has Pio XII on the dagger. His name, Pius XII, engraved in the dagger. And he tells him, I was planning on killing you with this dagger. Here's what happened and why. It's a cool story. And he becomes, beforehand, a terrible husband, a terrible father, just a pain in the neck, a bad person. Afterwards, a perfect husband, a perfect dad. And he goes for the end of his life. He probably was 30 years old, something like that. Lives a long old age, doing nothing but promoting and preaching on conversion to the Catholic faith and the truths of the faith. It was actually filmed there by Rome News, a Miracle of the Sun that happened on the Feast of the Miracle of the Sun in Trefontaine, and everyone was watching. It was caught on camera. I can't find that clip, or I would have had it in the film videos. But the idea of it is when Russia would be converted, it'd be instantaneous, like Bruno, the communist, and become a warrior for the church. Right now, Russia proper is still Russian Orthodox, which is schismatic, not in the church. And we can say Russia spread its errors of communism all over the globe. And there's a letter that Fatima, that Lucy said, was asked, would the United States become communist? And she said yes. And as I brought up an argument in prior shows, you have to have seen that has happened in this case. We are that now. We could actually, maybe we are the Russia now. Anyways, wars are going on and not peace. We have to earn it. There's always a price to pay. We have to earn the conversion. We have to earn this miracle. We have to earn this by doing the 5 first Saturdays and to saying our rosaries and becoming the best, I was going to say doggone something else, best Catholics that you can even think of. have fire that you've never had of before, and pray for the gift of fire, the gift of zeal for the martyrs, and the zeal for souls, you will get that prayer answered immediately. You won't get that prayer for a Maserati. You pray for zeal for the martyrs, zeal for souls, pretty much guarantee that's going to happen. God love you. See you next week. Steve Cunningham with Sensus Fidelium Hour. Take care, Charlotte.